Hi, so I hope you guys are having a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. I'm back again to bring you another video, and this one I wanted to talk a little bit about some of my favorite metal labels, some of the more underground metal labels on the map. Now with that being said, I could make this a 10-part series. There are dozens upon dozens of very hyper-specific niche labels that really do shine a light on some incredible releases in the underground and help breathe life into the underground, and that is something that I always think is not only necessary but genuinely should be mandatory. There should always be a counterbalance with the mainstream in the underground sphere, and those are some of my favorite labels to support. I will say I have 5 labels here of varying significance and notoriety, but the one thing that I will not be doing in this video is going over the ones that if you step into the metal sphere for more than 2 seconds you are going to outright immediately know. So just to get them out of the way very early, Metal Blade Records is a fantastic shop for literally every type of metal ever. They have black metal, death metal, thrash metal, traditional heavy metal, a lot of heavy hitters from the 80s, from the 90s, from the 2000s. Sumerian Records, a fantastic label for progressive metalcore and gent music, a very great place for a lot of the foundation of metalcore and early electronicore, bands like Asking Alexandria, Icy Stars, Born of Osiris, Era, Veil of Maya. Season of Mist is a wonderful record label that has a ton of black metal and doom metal, usually airing more on the doomy and black metal side of things. You have Profound Lore with a lot of despondent, heavy, doom, crushing riffs, everything ranging from some of the more sludgy doom metal laden bands or black metal bands, as well as some very insulated and heavy sounding death metal bands. These are all a given. These are all record labels that if you are into metal music, you should be familiar with, and if you're not, definitely give them a try because these are some of the biggest labels. Not to mention, I literally just thought of Nuclear Blast. That is another major one that should be a household name for any metalhead. Stepping down a little bit, I'm going to start with Debumur Morty Productions, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I don't know if I am. This label is associated with some big names that you might not necessarily know find themselves on the roster. Bands like White Ward, who released the phenomenal record False Light, or Ulcerate, as well as Blut aus Nord is another name. This is a great place for a lot of heavy and despondent, and most of the times, more often than not, experimental black metal and doom metal, as well as some other genres in the mix, but most of the time a lot of atmospheric black metal music, experimental black metal music. If you're a black metal fan that is not too into the lo-fi side of things, the very rough and rigid type of things, and you're more so into abnormalities and anomalies in your mixes, this might be something up your alley. And with a label that is boasting a band like Blut aus Nord or Ulcerate, it should give you a good indication of what you are going to get stepping into it. Next up, a long time sort of guilty pleasure label for me that I don't necessarily cover that much from, but I always go back to see new releases from. A la $20 spin, we got Horror, Pain, Death, Gore Productions. Nasty, grimy, death metal music! Sometimes some grind in the mix as well, but most of the time you're getting death metal, a lot of death doom as well. Just so much blood and guts, mud cake death metal music. Think kind of like what $20 spin does. If you like that approach to sort of OSDM revivalism, and if that has been your calling card, this is a label that is an absolute must if you've enjoyed some of the stuff coming out of Profound Lore and $20 spin, bands like Blood Incantation, as well as like Coffins and Mortiferum, Tomb Mold, Witch Vomit. If those are bands you enjoy, this record label is literally full to the brim of those types of bands. I have yet to really hear a record from this place that has been super touched up, that hasn't been just really rough and on the edge. Next up, we have a label that has been very supportive of the channel, sent me some great vinyls and CDs a while back, Hypnotic Dirge Records. This record label is for the weird ones. This is a label that has consistently wowed me with just how they kind of put a lot of avant-garde and experimental music on the map. This is a label that has a lot of atmospheric and experimental releases, most of the time in the black metal niche, but they also have some doom metal, a little bit of death metal, but most of the time just really avant-garde. And if you are a fan of some of the more lonesome and scant sounding black metal music with a lot of texture, depth, and atmosphere to the instrumentation and composition, this this is a great place, with sort of this emphasis on the desolation that some of the best depressive black metal can really bring to the table, and if that's something you enjoy, I want to put it on your radar. The next one might be a little bit obvious to people who have been into metal for a while, and kind of a given, but realistically, I think that the influence that this label has had and what they have boasted in pretty much carrying the 2010s on their back cannot be overstated. I'm of course talking about Dark Descent Records. They have a catalog of some of the most critically acclaimed projects and albums and bands to come out of the 2010s. They formed right around like the turn of the decade, and they've had some really heavy hitters a part of their catalog, whether you're talking about Blood Incantation as well as Thantifaxeth. But I think there may be a lot of people that don't know that this is the home for some of the best projects to come out of the 2010s, with a very diverse sort of widespread thing, kind of like a Seas in the Mist or a Metal Blade Records, everything from black metal to old school death metal sort of shit, as well as doom metal. There's a lot to really toy around with here, and they don't really nail themselves down to one specific style. And if it slips through the cracks, go check them out, because they are still releasing some great stuff nowadays, even if it's not some of like the biggest names you hear in circulation. Similarly to the last one, I think this is a label that has been massively influential and important, but not everyone is going to outright know what this label is. This is a place that has been the home or is the home of bands like Vane, Gulch, Nails, Full of Hell, some of Converge's shit. And if you don't see a trend here, this is a very hardcore centric, like infused metalcore sort of label that has had some of the most creative and boundary pushing metalcore and hardcore punk releases to come out of the 2010s, as well as the 2020s. Some of the most acclaimed records to come out of the late 2010s when it comes to the metalcore niche and the noisy, distorted, fuzzed out sort of niche, it most likely, dare I say, came from Closed Casket. If you want some releases that sort of sit on the fringe of hardcore punk absurdity with the noise and distortion and feedback and fuzziness and just overall noise and hellish onslaught to the ears, check out this hotspot, because if any of the bands that I mentioned are your cup of tea, then I think you'll have a ton of fun digging into some of the lesser known projects and releases to come out of this camp. But I want to know what your guys' opinions are of this. You can let me know down in the comment section below some of your favorite underground or mainstream metal labels. There is no wrong answer. I want to hear what you guys enjoy the most and keep up with the most. Let me know down in the comment section below. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to join the review family today, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is. My name is Jay Morris, and I'm signing off saying farewell.